Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 23-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living near Toronto. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record most of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. So, in today's episode, this is going to feature our last couple of sessions while we're still in Ontario. So, if you haven't heard, Maddie and I are moving to Montreal, and chronologically, after like the last session of this episode, we'll be driving up to Montreal the day after that. So yeah, anyway, these are our last couple sessions that I filmed while we're still in Ontario. And this session we're featuring here is my last session on the 45 that I was gonna have for like a long time. Maddie and I will probably visit like maybe once a month or something. We'll come spend the weekend in Ontario and just stay at home and hit up all the new gyms that'll probably be full of fresh boulders and just visit family. So this will be the last session on the 45 for a while, but we'll definitely come back to this wall, and I still have some unfinished projects. But this boulder that I'm trying right here, so I think I mentioned in the last episode, that I had a spiral session with Ben, who maybe you'll notice he's sort of popping in and out of the frame. I'm climbing with him during the session. I was also climbing with him during another session a few days ago. But I accidentally deleted the videos off my phone before they made it to the computer. So that session didn't make the videos. So this boulder that I'm trying here, I've actually already tried, and I've worked for like a whole session, and I'm finally sticking this first move here for the first time. So this boulder, I spent like half an hour working it with Ben, and I was never able to stick that first move, and I'm finally sticking it here, and so I'm cruxing out. I really want to send this boulder. I had just watched the Defying Gravity video on Mellow like a few days prior, and I was inspired by the first move of that boulder. So I wanted to make a somewhat of a similar move with like a super epic dead point. So that was the logic behind that first move, and it took a lot of tries to stick. I think it was pretty cool. That was like a pretty limit boulder. And so the idea with the spiral session is to maybe try a couple boulders that I've been really into working before we have to leave and say goodbye to them for a while. And that boulder, after trying it for the first time the other day, I was like super psyched on that. So I definitely wanted to send that boulder going into this session, which I did, thankfully. So I was psyched. And then this boulder that we're trying here, you'll notice that, so like I said, I'm climbing with Ben during the session, but Ben is actually like really psyched on outdoor climbing right now, and he's got some projects in the local crack that he wants to send. He just got back from a Red Rocks trip where he did some cool boulders. I think he did a metal arc stand, so he's really making some gains with his outdoor climbing these days. And so the style of boulders that he wants to train on the spray wall are a lot different than mine. And so this is a boulder of his, and you can see it's like not quite a boulder I would make up. He likes to just stick to the small holds and like really like staticky moves and like trying to keep tension the whole way. So we were having like two very different spray wall sessions. I would have liked to incorporate Ben in the videos if he was trying the boulders that I was trying, but the boulders that he was trying a lot of the times during the session were quite nasty. He was making these nasty crimp lines. He's trying to make some replicas of outdoor projects as well. And so this is one of the boulders that he made that wasn't that was like the least micro crimpy boulder, which is like, I mean, this boulder is still filled with just finger based moves. And this next move that I'm lining up for, we're trying to go to this red crimp rail, and this thing is like a knife. As soon as I lined up that move and looked at how sharp that hold was probably going to feel to catch, I said, okay, no more on this boulder, let's move on. But he made a pretty cool sequence there with the foot first move that I wanted to try, so hopped on that boulder a little bit, and then I said, okay, Ben, you can climb on these crimp rails. I'm going to go back to my comp stuff. And then speaking of comp stuff, this boulder that we are trying here, this one is definitely one of my favorite boulders I've made on the spiral recently. I also tried this on the session that didn't make it into the video, and I tried it a couple sessions ago during an episode. So this is my third session on this boulder. And it's funny, when I made this boulder, I did not expect it to be as hard as it was. I actually thought like I made this move here, like this jump to the white hold, and I was like, okay, this looks like a pretty sick move, and it'll probably take me a couple tries, but it'll be a cool climb for the videos. And then it turns out that this move is like so hard, and I've tried it for 3 sessions and I haven't stuck it. I've been so close so many times. This move is so incredibly frustrating. This white hold that we're jumping to, it sort of looks like a jug, but it's actually quite deceptive, and that's what I didn't realize when I was making it. It's kind of like a slopey in cut, definitely not a jug. And what's also really hard about this move is like the foot that we're stabbing to is like way off to the right, and it's kind of flat too. It's not facing the way you want. So it's really hard to sort of land this finished position. And if the foot is like very slightly not in the right spot, then you're just not gonna land it. And all those attempts, by the way, were ground attempts. I just cut out the beginning of my tries, but I spent the majority of the session trying this boulder and just repping out the beginning sequence of this climb, which is not super easy either. This beginning is like quite physical, and you have to try and be as efficient as possible, just to have the perfect amount of energy to like really optimize the setup for this jump to the white hold. But I got really close today. I really wanted to send this boulder today. That was kind of the goal, but no dice. We'll have to try it again when we visit Ontario for like a little weekend trip in the future. So we are here the next day after that spiral session for our last Kilter board session for a while, actually. And it is because I've been doing a lot of Kilter board recently, and that's actually just because I've been having a lot of fun with it. And there aren't a whole lot of like gyms in the area right now with like a lot of hard comp style boulders to like give me like a session's worth of training. And so it's hard to like be motivated to go to the gym and make up boulders. I've talked about this a bit in the past. It's like way harder for me to train and go make up my own boulders than it is to just go to a gym with lots of hard set boulders for me to just try like things that are put in front of my face rather than have to set my own boulders and pour on them. It can be a lot of work. So just for the rest of this training cycle, I decided to spend a lot of time on the Kilter board, actually, just because it sort of has the same effect where I don't have to make up my own boulders, and they're just products that are just put in front of me, and I can just focus on trying to send them. And like while I'm sort of still have a bit of my shoulder's still a bit hurt, I am just kind of like messing around for the rest of this training cycle until we get to a rest week, and then I'll start with some proper scheduled training again. So anyway, this is the last Kilter board session we're having for a while because it will not be we won't have any Kilter board sessions in our next training month. We'll be switching up the training a bit, and we'll basically be taking a month off from the Kilter board. So these boulders that I'm doing right now for this session, this is sort of the top end of my warm up. Like I think I started my timer probably while I tried this boulder. Like what I usually do for my sessions, like I've mentioned, is I'll do my climbing warm up and then start my timer for the session when I'm like ready to start like trying really hard. So I usually go for an hour on the Kilter board. So I started my hour-long timer right before I did like that last V10. And I think when I do my Kilter board sessions, I'll try to just start filming the upper end of my warm-up, or like I'll just start filming as soon as I start climbing on the Kilter board, because I think it's fun to feature like more climbs rather than in the previous few episodes. I sort of just have been starting filming like right as we get on the main project of the session. But I think it'll be good to feature some more climbs. And so speaking of the main project of the session, this boulder here turned out to be like an epic boulder. So I have like been playing around on some different boulders in the Kilter board recently, some various 8Bs, sort of testing some stuff. I have like a list of projects that I want to gradually tackle over a longer period of time. Like that last boulder, the boulder we were trying in the last, or maybe it was like 2 Kilter board sessions ago. It was a Jimmy Webb 8B, and I definitely want to get back on that. But I was doing some more Instagram sleuthing, and I stumbled upon this boulder on, I think his name was James something Cook's Instagram, and that's where I found a video of him doing this boulder, which looks super sick. This is an ALEX MEGOS 8B, and like I've sort of been chasing the grade 8B for a little bit on the Kilter board. I'm still like, I'm not a noob anymore on the Kilter board. I've had enough sessions where I'm definitely like saying I'm becoming a bit more experienced, but I have like basically this surplus of boulders that I haven't tried, like just absolute classics. So I've been testing them all out, and I'm trying to like find, okay, what's the first 8B that I'm actually going to send, because I've just sort of had like one session on a bunch of different ones. And so when I saw the video of this boulder, I was like, okay, this boulder looks like it's really my style. If there's going to be one that I'm going to get, like my first V13 send on the Kilter, it's probably going to be this boulder just by the look of it. And after I started trying it a few tries, I definitely could feel it as the case. This boulder is super, super my style. We got a dyno out of some pinches with like a hand flip. And then the last move is like a campus move. This is a boulder that I would set for myself on the spray wall. It was like, is the closest feeling bowler to something I set myself that somebody else actually set, if that makes sense. But yeah, this boulder by Megos, at first when I saw James's video, I was like, okay, this sort of looks like a bit of a one move wonder because he made the ending sequence look really easy in his video. But then it's taking me a few tries to figure out how to do the ending. And then what I had to make sure that I was doing as well is in between all of these attempts on the hand flip, I had to make sure that I was repping out the ending just to keep the muscle memory fresh for my Sengo. Because oftentimes with these like really low percentage moves, your muscles can just get so used to trying this move and you can forget how to do the ending. And then when it gets time to do the full send, you won't have the muscle memory fresh. So I make sure to keep running the ending a bit and make sure I got it dialed. And then, so this boulder definitely like takes a lot of there's a lot of little micro beta to like learn how to do this boulder the most optimally. And there's two key factors actually that I think helped me get the send of this boulder in this session. And the first one being when you have the hand flipped and you go to readjust on this hold, for anybody that happens to be working this boulder right now, this beta here where you bring the left foot on top to adjust the left hand on the ball in order to move off of it, I found that was the best way to adjust the hand. Because when you hold the hand flip, what kept happening to me is my hand would slide to a 3-finger drag, and that hold was not going to be good enough in a drag to jump off of it. And I didn't feel good like trying to campus adjust my hand because it was like really taxing. But then all of a sudden I unlocked this, like when you put the left foot on top of your right hand to adjust your left hand, it was super ergonomic and it felt really, really good to adjust. And then all you do is like a little foot switch to move out of the position. And that was like really helpful to like make this climb nice and smooth and efficient. And then on one of my tries, I sort of accidentally decided to just set up a little bit longer in the 2 pinches position and just think a bit more about what I was gonna do before I did the jump. And what my body did naturally was just kind of like, okay, I really wanna go and stick this move. I'm gonna try really hard. And so what I did is I sunk really low into my lats. And this is something that I try to do often consciously, but I forget to do it from time to time. So on this move, my one attempt where I just happened to naturally sink into my lats because I just decided to have a bit of a longer setup for this move. All of a sudden I noticed it was a really good try right off the bat. And so I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I just gotta start emphasizing this. So before every try, what I did is I got into the position and I sunk really low into my lats and then I did the jump. And the reason this is helpful is there's a couple reasons that, at least the way I think about it in my head, why sinking into your lats like really helps your performance on this sort of kind of like jumping dead point move. And a lot of like basically any sort of dead pointing or dynoing. The first big reason is that, especially on an overhang, even just a little sort of sinking into your lats is going to give you that 5% boost in terms of bringing your body a little bit away from the wall. And the reason this is helpful is it's like, this is actually similar to the previous episode's tip of the day where I was talking about how to catch, like basically catching the egg and trying to create a nice smooth transition of momentum so your grip isn't like super shocked when you load a position. And by gradually like reducing your momentum into a position, it helps your grip strength not have to try so hard. And I was talking about how we can create upwards momentum going into a move in order to gain this effect, because gravity helps make an upward jump more gradual and easier on your grip to absorb. And so not only upwards movement helps, but also inwards movement. So coming away from the wall towards the wall is also going to help this. So if you can create a situation where you're jumping upwards and towards the wall, that's like the most optimal way to absorb your momentum. And a way we can think about this is sort of, let's say we're on the ground and we jump into a position on the wall. We're doing like both of these things, which is why it's easy to sort of jump into positions from the ground a lot of the time. So basically sinking into your lats brings your body a little bit away from the wall, so that way you're jumping a little bit more into the wall. And it's a very like small difference, right? From this bent arm position to like this, it's not a whole lot, but it's just that little micro difference that is so helpful on these like max limit moves. So that's the first big thing that helps with the sinking into your lats, is creating direction away from the wall towards the wall, even just by that little micropercent. And then the next big thing as well is it just sort of creates a bit more time, a bit more air time for while your arms are pulling, basically. So like, let's say we were to jump out of this position, like bend arms. This is sort of the amount of time that our body gets to pull and think about what it's doing. But now, if we jump from our lats being a bit more extended, we have all of this time for our body to sort of play around and just find the good momentum. And it just gives you more muscle time, basically, to execute the move. And you can, your body can just help find a better position almost instinctively, and you don't have to think about it. And so these two big things are created by just sinking into your lats a bit more. And you don't even have to think about these things. All you have to do is think about, okay, I'm gonna sink into my lats, and your body will take care of the rest. Your body will, have more information and more time to play with while you're jumping into your lats, and you're gonna be jumping a bit more away from the wall into the wall. And both of these things helped optimize this move and made it so that I could catch this end position, which was, you had to like be so perfect. And these two things helped optimize a whole lot. So that's today's tip of the day with these sort of dead pointing moves. Any sort of dead pointing moves, any dynos, sinking into your lats can be really, really helpful, even without you even being aware of why it's helpful, which is really cool. So we can also start paying attention to it a bit more here. I think a few attempts ago is when I really started to put this into practice. You'll notice like I just take 1 second at the end to really sink a bit lower into my lats and my shoulders and just get all those extra benefits that I was talking about. And I think this is actually my last failed attempt for the send go. And this is probably this was my equivalent of a mock send. So when I start getting close to sending a boulder, I'll like to, fall up the crux and then just jump right back on and try and run the ending of a boulder so that I basically know exactly, almost exactly what it feels like to send the boulder. And that way, when I get to the crux at the end, like the finish move crux, I'll know what it feels like to climb that boulder with the amount of fatigue as I would have from doing it from the start. And so I finally stick this move here. It is just, what a funny thing was too, is after I did this boulder, I went and looked at the comments that the other ascensionists have left on this boulder. And the first comment was somebody saying that they just had a random moment of perfection and that was the send of this boulder. And as soon as I read that, it was really relatable. The feeling of sticking that move is just kind of whoa, I was not even expecting it that. And I know I was optimizing as much as I could for that move, but it definitely feels like a random moment of perfection is needed to stick that move. And so I finally did. And I think it was all thanks to the tip of the day. Sinking into the lats helped me on that move a lot. And so I finally got my first Kilter 8B. I don't know about V grades. I'm sure I think the Kilter board is sort of known for being a bit softer than outdoor grades would be, but I'll take it as the Kilter board difficulty 8B, which is just still fun because the Kilter board is almost like a discipline of its own, and I've been having a lot of fun with it recently, and it's nice to be making some progress. And so yeah, I'll have a couple more 8Bs on the project list that I'll get to in a month when we start training on Kilter again. So now this boulder that we're trying here is a boulder called Miami Vice Grip, and this is another one of the boulders that I was recommended in the comments from previous Kilter episodes. And so what I decided to do for this boulder was, obviously it looks really my style. So I said, okay, I'm just starting to power out here. That ALEX MEGOS boulder obviously took all of my energy. I was putting maximum effort goes every try. And so I was just starting to power out here. So I decided to just give this boulder a few send goes and just a couple, I'm just gonna give ground attempts. I had a pretty decent flash burn, and then second burn was the same. And then I kind of try the ending a bit here, but I could tell that, okay, this boulder, I need to be a bit fresher for, and it's gonna take a bit more work. So I will just save it for a future Kilter board session. But that one was definitely really cool. I'll like to revisit that one. And so now the boulder you're seeing on your screen here is actually a boulder that I set. So I was, after the previous Kilter problem that I set, I got a few comments saying that people want a different boulder to try, because that one, the first boulder I made on the Kilter board was a little bit spicy. Definitely not your typical Kilter problem, with the sort of campus double clutch. So I decided, okay, before I say goodbye to Kilter for a while, I'm gonna try and make something a bit more classic Kilter style, just some more basic climbing, and give anyone who wants to try a boulder of mine something else to try if you're not into sort of campus double clutch moves, which I can understand. And so I think I came up with a pretty fun boulder here. I was definitely getting a little bit tired at this point, so I was only sort of pulling on this boulder a little bit to make sure that it was possible. So I give it a couple attempts here, and then I try the ending. And also another thing I'll note is I realized after I was watching this footage back that maybe you can just sort of bump from the second hold up to the circle from the start. So what I did after after I recorded this video is I switched the feet around at the start to hopefully prevent that. But this boulder is up on the app now. It's a project. I didn't quite get this end. I was a bit like too tired to grab this little crimp. But if I had to guess, I'd say this boulder is probably like hard 10, easy 11. If I had to guess, I wanted to make something that was like a little bit more accessible. So yeah, I came up with this thing. It's got a pretty fun sequence with a little dyno in the middle. It's called Knife for Life, should be up on the app. Go give it a try. I think it's pretty cool. Let me know what you think. And yeah, in a month I'll be back on the Kilter board to train some more. And maybe what I'll do is I'll like make up some more moderate boulders at the end of like a Kilter board session where I try some projects, and then I'll finish off with like a moderate boulder of my own that I set. And then you guys can give these boulders a try as well. So that wraps up all of our training in Ontario for quite some time. Like I said, we'll be back to visit for sure. But the next big thing is Montreal. I am so psyched. The gym, there are just like, there's probably, Maddie and I were counting, I think there's probably like 12 like 5-star gyms filled with like comp bowlers that we can just go train at regularly. And it's going to be actually insane. Like, we're just never going to run out of boulders in Montreal. It's going to be really easy to level up and just be like in good comp performance mode while we're living in Montreal. And so at the time I'm recording this video, we're actually going to be driving up tomorrow, and the idea is to move there permanently. So I don't know if I've mentioned that part specifically yet, but obviously we just lived in Germany for a year and that was fun. But there's like some lifestyle stuff that was like kind of hard about living in a place for a year. You know, you can't buy yourself a nicer couch. You're sort of stuck with the one that the apartment came with because it's not worth it if you're just gonna be there for a year. So like things like this were kind of hard about Germany. So the idea is to like, okay, let's go move to Montreal and just say that, you know, not put a timeline on it. So basically permanently, which is going to be super exciting. Montreal is just the place to be in Canada if you're like looking to level up your competitive bouldering. So that is the idea behind the move, and that's happening tomorrow. So it's very exciting. So and I'm also starting rest week too. So this Kilter session was my last session before like a short rest week. So I'll be out for 4 days, maybe heal up my shoulder a little bit, do some physio, and then I'll be back with some Montreal action. So get very excited because it's going to be super hype. And there's like a lot of psyched people, psyched strong climbers in Montreal that will be climbing with a lot too. So it'll be very exciting. Look forward to some upcoming Montreal action. Insert catchy video right here.